So good morning guys, I'm actually outside here at the beehive. A nice compliment to the bullshit factory where lots of shit and caca is normally said in any normal day. This is kind of one of the efforts of the protesters, which they've turned around to make sure that there actually is facilities able to cope with the sanitation. Now this has been a point of contention that's been widely revered on things like social media. One of the people saying, oh no, they're dumping the shit into the wastewater. Well, I've just gone and actually had a look, and again, the mainstream media did report this. You can actually see that it's hooked up to the sewage main. So truth will lie, number one. Number two, yes, the media did correct that particular crack, but only because of all the people like myself who came up there with the cameras, went click, here you are, see for yourself. So it kind of basically made them an outright liar. So they then had to change their story, but they only did it after they were actually snapped out telling lies. Now the other thing, I want to just walk you around the back here. So we've got a little generator going on here as well. And then what we've got here is the sanitation tank. So this is what they basically try to bring in and bring out every day so that they can actually empty the toilets, minimise the actual weight. This is what I largely think that they've had to do. I mean, the innovation is absolutely amazing. This has allowed them to come in there and actually service these things, because largely there's been a battle along the whole way with the police, which they have basically tried to first of all stop these being actually services. They did the same thing in Nelson. They cut off the line to the place where you're going to dump that stuff in Picton. Then they turned around when that failed. The next thing they turned around did, the police basically charged up here, and you know, when people took a long time to work out what the tactical application was, until, you know, when you see one of my videos, that's with the guy that turned around and he's literally supporting these portaloos with himself and holding his weight along with 17-year-olds, while riot police are actually busily jabbing them with overhead punches and batons. And some of these batons have been shown with photos or with sharp edges. So not necessarily the ones at that protest, but we have seen photographs of batons which are being tooled up to inflict maximum damage. So here we have the actual area. So the next step, when they turn around and they try to knock over the portaloo, and the idea is that they can create a sanitation issue, then they can say it's dangerous and it's unsafe for the kids, and then Tamaki can actually get involved, and then they can change the narrative away from people protesting against the mandates to a narrative which actually makes the government look good. And yet the reality is that the government and the police and elements of the police, because the protesters again are very keen not to blame all the wider police, much like they have given very high praise to the people down at Government House for being neutral and you know, asking them, using their whānau connections to actually make sure that there is a bit of respect going on both sides.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are we all doing?
Good.
These are the violent protesters. They look really aggressive. You might trip over them in the dark. So this is the sort of thing that's, you know, the police turned around and actually knocked over that area. So the next step was to turn around and create structures like the beehive, which were designed to actually be a little bit more solid and prevent that sanitation issue from taking place. They've even turned around to the point of actually bringing in showers. So again, the protesters can be nice and clean and minimise the health issues while maximising the health reduction issues. Well, the response to that has been the police have turned around and actually sent in riot groups which have actually smashed that facility to the ground. So what we're actually seeing here, actively, when you actually look at the grounds and come and actually look at the information firsthand, as opposed to sitting up there on the balconies or way over there, you turn around and see that there's a side of the story which MSM has been really at pains not to tell the full story. Well, they've only really accepted the press releases from the police circles themselves. So look, that's my key story this morning. I'm going to put those up there with my other videos talking to people actually fought in the Battle of Portaloo, along with some other relevant connections, and that'll do a little subsection there, because I think that's really the point here, is that the whole issue has been about lawfulness. Well, the protesters have adapted to the situation, they've maintained their grounds. There has been no attempt to dialogue or meet them halfway to make sure that these issues are safe for everybody concerned. In fact, the police have been going out of their way to actually escalate the situation and could bring danger into the area. And that includes the idea of people that have got maybe mental health issues, people that have actually got issues full stop, that when the protesters have actually attempted to move these people away or provide them to the police have responded by literally throwing them back into the lines. Again, there is video footage of this, so you know, don't just take my word, go actually, we'll see if we can find some of the kind of those examples later on as well to put with this. But that's the whole point, is that I have access to the same information as our corporate media friends up there. But what they do is they actually sit up on the balcony, and they judge from above and below. And they've been told not to. Remember, Barry Soper confirmed that the Speaker of the House, who also decides who gets to be an accredited journalist and actually go to these press releases that are there for the purposes of asking questions so that we can challenge our leaders, because that's what happens in a democracy. What's been happening instead is that... G'day, guys! So what's actually been happening is that the people like Trevor Mullet have done everything in the way to make sure that these people don't get a fair shake of the whip. Now, there are issues that come along. There are other issues that come through, like the 1080 and other related areas which people try to attach onto it. But, you know, overall, at the end of the day, people are quite clear. Mandates is the thing that they want discussed, and that's what they want to dialogue on. So just on that alone, you know, we're saying, look, no, we don't want to talk about 1080, we don't want to talk about TPA, all these things which are relevant, but not the issue of the day. This is what we want to talk about with the dialogue with the government. And the government's going, no, we won't negotiate with you, we won't have any dialogue with you, which doesn't really strike me as a very healthy way to run a democracy.